She stepped into the gleaming conference room at Nexlify, the air thick with unspoken verdicts. No tailored suit, no sparkling jewelry, just a woman in a second-hand blazer, her scuffed loafers silent on the polished floor, a plain folder tucked under her arm. The panel's eyes carved her apart before she could sit. Did she wander in from a thrift shop? The HR director whispered, her voice ablade. A young exec in a crisp suit snorted. We're hiring leaders, not lost causes. Their laughter stung, sharp and cold. Elena Harper, 32, stood unfazed, her dark hair swept into a simple bun, her steady gaze meeting theirs. Nexlify's tower, a 60-story monolith of glass and ambition, dominated the Austin skyline, a tech empire that reshaped industries. This 45th floor room was its crucible, where futures were forged or crushed. Elena's modest clothes marked her an intruder, but beneath her quiet exterior burned a mind that could unravel complex systems and a will that wouldn't break. They saw nobody. They didn't know she was the hidden force behind Nexlify's rise. The laughter in Nexlify's 45th floor conference room faded into a cold hum as Elena Harper took her seat. The long obsidian table gleamed under the LED lights, reflecting the panel's sharp suits and sharper stares. Outside, Austin's skyline stretched wide, a glittering testament to ambition. But inside, the air was a guillotine. Elena set her plain folder down, its edges worn from nights of preparation. She was ready, her mind a vault of algorithms and strategies that had quietly shaped Nexlify's core systems. But the panel didn't care. They saw only her faded blazer and scuffed loafers, a puzzle piece that didn't fit their polished world. At the head sat Vivian Holt, HR director, her emerald blazer a stark contrast to her icy demeanor. Her blonde hair was pinned tight, her eyes dissecting Elena like code gone wrong. Next to her lounged Derek Vance, senior exec, his cufflinks flashing as he twirled a pen with lazy arrogance. Across the table, 27-year-old Carter Reed, heir to a tech fortune, smirked in a suit that cost more than Elena's rent. His tie, a deep sapphire, seemed to mock her thrift store threads. Lena Wu, data strategist, adjusted her rimless glasses, her face a mask of disdain. Rounding out the group was Owen Blake, operations lead, his broad shoulders slouched, his crew cut catching the light as he cracked his knuckles. Vivian slid Elena's resume across the table, her manicured nails tapping the paper. No frills, no flair, she said, voice dripping with condescension. Elena Harper, sociology degree, was it? This is Nexlify, not a community center. The panel chuckled, a low, predatory sound. Elena's lips parted, calm but firm. It's computer science, specializing in machine learning ethics. I've built systems that… Carter cut her off, leaning back with a grin. Systems? Like what? A budgeting app for your garage sale? The room erupted again, Derek's pen pausing mid-twirl to join the laughter. Lena leaned forward, her glasses glinting. Published anything? Or are we grading your diary entries? Owen snorted, tossing the resume back toward Vivian. No relevant experience. Wrong vibe. Why are you even here? Elena's hands stayed steady, her voice unwavering. I've spent 7 years designing scalable frameworks. My last project boosted efficiency at a startup by 200%. I'm here to solve Nexlify's bottlenecks, ones you haven't even named yet. Her words landed like stones in still water, but the panel's smirks only deepened. Vivian grabbed a marker, scrawling irrelevant across Elena's resume in thick black ink. There's your headline, she said, sliding it back. Carter hooted, frame it for the discount bin. The room tightened around Elena, their scorn a rising tide. Derek leaned in, his cufflinks catching the light. That blazer's a choice. Salvation Army chic? Lena smirked, adding, try retail, hun. It's more your speed. Owen piled on, his voice a low growl. This is the big leagues, not a charity pitch. The resume lay defaced before her, ink bleeding through the page. But Elena's hazel eyes didn't flinch. She straightened, her calm a fortress. I'm here to discuss my work, not my wardrobe. Vivian's smile was a blade. Work? Sweetheart, you don't have any. She snatched a stapler from the table and fired it at Elena's papers. the metal teeth punching holes through the pages. "Let's make it art," she sneered, tossing the stapled mess back. Lena laughed. "Swiss cheese dreams." Derek kicked the scattered sheets off the table, his voice mocking. "Trash stays on the floor." Elena bent to gather them, her fingers steady despite the sting, but Carter stood, grabbing a water bottle from the table. With a flick of his wrist, he poured it over her head, the icy stream soaking her blazer and dripping to the floor. "Cool off, dreamer," he jeered as the panel roared. Elena blinked through the chill, her bun now slick, water pooling at her loafers. But she didn't break, just stood, her strength a quiet fire. Vivian tapped her phone. "Security, we've got an intruder." Owen grinned. "Don't trip on the way out." The door loomed, their laughter a venomous echo, but Elena's gaze held steady, a promise unspoken. They thought they'd buried her. They didn't know the storm was just beginning. The conference room on Nexlify's 45th floor pulsed with cruelty, the panel's laughter a jagged edge slicing through the air. Elena Harper stood drenched, water dripping from her sodden blazer, pooling around her scuffed loafers. Carter Reed's empty water bottle clattered to the table, his smirk wide as he leaned back, arms crossed. "That's your Nexlify welcome," he said, voice thick with mockery. Vivian Holt, HR director, clapped slowly, her emerald blazer a stark contrast to the venom in her smile. "Perfect. She's cooled off now." The others joined in. Derek Vance's chuckle low and smug, Lena Wu's glasses glinting with cruel amusement, Owen Blake's grin sharp as a blade. Elena's hazel eyes blinked through the chill, her bun plastered to her neck, but her spine stayed straight. The defaced resume lay in tatters before her, irrelevant scrawled in bleeding ink, staples punched through like wounds. She reached for the scattered pages, her fingers steady despite the weight of their scorn. Lena kicked them further, her heel nudging the papers into a crumpled heap. "Garbage stays down," she hissed. Elena paused, her calm a wall they couldn't breach, and gathered what remained, tucking the torn sheets into her folder. Derek stood, his cufflinks flashing as he shoved a thick packet toward her. 20 pages of logic puzzles and coding problems, twisted and brutal, designed to break even seasoned engineers. "Surprise test," he said, voice dripping with acid. "No laptop, pen and paper. Prove you're not a fraud." The panel leaned forward, eyes hungry for her failure. Owen snorted, "She'll choke in 5 minutes." Vivian tapped her pen. "Tick-tock, thrift shop." Elena took the packet, her hands steady as stone. "All right," she said, voice low but clear. She sat, pen moving like a blade through fog, equations unfurling, loops and proofs spilling across the pages. Her mind a furnace of precision, cracked each problem open, solutions flowing faster than they could sneer. 7 minutes ticked by. Carter yawned theatrically, scrolling his phone. Lena muttered, "She's doodling nonsense." But Elena slid the packet back, every page filled, her handwriting sharp and flawless. "Done." Vivian snatched it, her eyes skimming a single page before ripping it in half, the tear a scream in the silence. She tossed the shreds into a trash can by her side. "Barely passable," she lied, her voice a blade. "You're not even close." Derek upped the ante, grabbing a coffee mug from the table, half full, cold, and splashing it across Elena's chest. The brown stain bloomed fast, soaking through her blouse, dripping onto her skirt. "There's your exit gift," he jeered as Lena snapped a photo, laughing. "Viral gold." Elena wiped her cheek, coffee mingling with water, her loafers slick on the floor. But she didn't flinch, her gaze a quiet fire they couldn't extinguish. Owen leaned in, his crew cut glinting under the lights. "You're wasting our air. Mailroom's hiring." Vivian hit her phone again, voice sharp. "Security. Now she's a stain on this room." 2 guards burst in, black polos, badges flashing, one gripping Elena's arm, the other yanking her folder from her hands. Owen escalated it, tearing the folder apart, its contents fluttering like broken wings. "No room for fakes," he barked, stomping the scraps into the carpet. "Move!" the first guard growled, dragging her toward the door. Elena didn't resist, her loafers silent, her face composed. Carter shouted after her, Try the flea market next time. Derek dumped a trash can over her as she passed, coffee grounds and crumpled memos raining down, clinging to her wet blouse. Where you belong, he sneered. Lena clapped. Perfect send-off for a nobody. The door slammed, their laughter seeping through, but Elena's steps didn't falter. Humiliated, stained, her work in ruins, she walked on, her hazel eyes hard, her strength a silent thunder. The elevator swallowed her, the descent a cold plunge. In the lobby, marble gleamed, employees bustling, oblivious to the woman in a stained blouse being marched out. One guard shoved her shoulder. Keep moving. The other tossed her torn folder into a bin by the exit. Don't come back, he barked. Elena stepped into the Austin sunlight, coffee and water soaking her clothes, resume shredded, but her gaze stayed clear. She'd faced worse, years of proving herself in rooms that didn't see her. This wasn't defeat, it was kindling for a fire they couldn't imagine. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number. Marcus, she said, voice calm, no tears. It went bad. His reply was a low growl. How bad? She told him. The coffee, the test, the guards. I'm coming, he said, voice like steel. Now. The Austin dawn broke sharp, a blaze of gold cutting through the glass spires of Nexlify's headquarters. On the 50th floor, the executive boardroom buzzed with tension, a war zone primed for detonation. 30 senior leaders filed in, suits crisp, faces taut, shareholders watching via live feed from New York to Singapore. The mahogany table stretched like a battlefield, screens glowing with data, the city sprawling below. Vivian Holt sat near the front, her emerald blazer pristine, her pen poised. Derek Vance twirled his cufflinks, a smirk playing on his lips. Carter Reed lounged, tie loose, exuding inherited confidence. Lena Wu adjusted her glasses, her expression unreadable. Owen Blake checked his watch, his crew cut glinting under the lights. They assumed this was their moment. Promotions, bonuses, a chance to climb Nexlify's gilded ladder. Then the doors slammed open and the room tilted. Marcus Kane strode in, 44, tall and unyielding, his black suit sharp as a blade, his gray-flecked hair framing eyes that burned like ice. The phantom CEO of Nexlify, a self-made titan who'd clawed his way from a Houston trailer park to a tech empire that bent the world to its will. A ghost in boardrooms from Tokyo to Berlin, he'd run Nexlify from the shadows for months, his presence a myth until now. Chairs scraped, breaths caught, as every eye locked on him. Beside him walked Elena Harper, same stained blouse, same damp skirt, her loafers tapping soft, her hazel eyes unflinching. The panel's faces drained, Vivian's pen frozen midair, Derek's cufflinks still, Carter's smirk gone, Lena's glasses fogging, Owen's jaw tight. Marcus stopped, his voice a low, deadly calm. Sit. They dropped like stones, the silence a blade. He scanned the room, his gaze a guillotine. I gave you one task, evaluate candidates for leadership, to show me who's fit to steer this company. But yesterday, you didn't interview a candidate. He paused, the weight of his words crushing the air, then turned to Elena. You humiliated my wife. Gasps punched the room. Vivian's hand trembled, her pen clattering to the table. Derek's jaw hit the floor. Carter shrank, his chair squeaking as he curled inward. Lena's glasses slipped, her breath shallow. Owen choked, his knuckles white. Marcus stepped closer, his presence a storm. Elena and I built Nexlify from nothing. 2 kids with no money, no sleep, no safety net. I wired the servers. She wrote the AI that powers every system you profit from. You didn't just miss a resume. You spat on the woman I love most. He pointed at the panel. Vivian, Derek, Carter, Lena, Owen. Repeat what you said yesterday. Now to the board. The room choked, the live feed humming with investor scrutiny. A tech flicked the screen on, and security footage roared to life, raw and unforgiving. Vivian's hiss. Sociology? This is Nexlify, not a community center. Carter's cackle. Budgeting app for a garage sale? Derek's sneer. Salvation Army chic. Lena's jab. Try retail, hun. Owen's growl. Mailroom's hiring. The words echoed, a death knell ringing across the boardroom. Shareholders shifted, investors glared through the feed, the panel's cruelty laid bare for millions. Vivian's emerald blazer seemed to swallow her, her marker scrawled, irrelevant, a noose around her neck. She defaced the architect of Nexlify's core, and her career crumbled in real time. Derek's cufflinks dangled useless, his coffee splash a chain binding him to ruin. He'd soaked the mine behind their profits, and his name was already blacklisted. Carter's sapphire tie hung limp, his water dump a scar etched into history. He drenched Nexlify's soul, and his dynasty's doors were slamming shut. Lena's glasses couldn't hide her fall, her stapler a curse that shredded her future. Owen's crew cut bowed, his folder tearing a brand burned into his legacy. The screen seared their shame into eternity, every sneer a nail in their coffins. Marcus didn't flinch. You tore her test, solved perfectly, faster than any of you could dream. You threw coffee. You called security. Say it again. Vivian's lips quivered. I can't. Carter stared at his shoes, mute. Derek rasped. Mistake. Lena whispered. We didn't know. Owen croaked. Sorry. Marcus leaned in, his voice a blade. Sorry's nothing. You showed me who you are. Small, cruel, blind. Nexlify doesn't carry dead weight. He nodded to security. The same guards, same black polos, badges glinting. Take them, they're done. The room held its breath as the guards moved. Vivian's blazer dragged. Derek's cufflinks clinked. Carter's tie flopped. Lena's glasses slipped. Owen's shoulders slumped. The board watched. Shareholders nodded. Investors typed furious notes. Elena stood silent, her stained blouse a badge of endurance, her gaze a quiet storm. The panel's laughter, their jabs, their venom. It was a boomerang, and it was coming back to shatter them. The Nexlify boardroom was a tomb of silence, the air thick with the wreckage of shattered egos. The live feed to shareholders and investors buzzed like a swarm, their screens burning with the panel's recorded cruelty. Vivian Holt's marker scrawled irrelevant, Derek Vance's coffee splash, Carter Reed's water dump, Lena Wu's stapler, Owen Blake's torn folder. Each act, a nail driven deeper into their coffins, replayed in merciless clarity. The 50th floor windows framed Austin's skyline, but the real storm raged inside, where Marcus Kane's icy gaze held the room captive. Elena Harper stood beside him, her stained blouse a testament to their venom, her hazel eyes a quiet blade slicing through their defenses. Marcus's voice cut the silence, sharp as a guillotine. You thought you were judging a nobody. You were wrong. Elena's code runs this company. Every deal you've closed, every dollar you've earned, traces back to her mind. He pointed to the screen, where Vivian's sneer echoed. Sociology? Not a community center. The board flinched, shareholders typed furiously, investors' faces hardened. You defaced the architect of Nexlify's soul, Marcus said, turning to Vivian. Her emerald blazer seemed to choke her hands shaking as she gripped the table. Speak. Defend yourself. Vivian stammered, her voice a ghost. We didn't know. Derek's cufflinks clinked as he shrank, rasping. It was a mistake. Carter's sapphire tie dangled like a noose, his eyes glued to the floor. Lena's glasses fogged, her whisper barely audible. We thought she was... Owen's crew cut bowed, his growl reduced to a croak. Sorry. Marcus leaned in, his words a hammer. You're not sorry, you're scared. You showed me who you are. Petty, blind, cruel. Nexlify has no place for vipers. He nodded to the guards, their black polos looming like shadows. Remove them. They're finished. The room froze as the guards advanced, the same ones who dragged Elena out hours before. Vivian's blazer dragged across the table as she stood, her marker a curse that branded her ruin. Derek's cufflinks caught the light one last time, his coffee stain a chain that bound him to oblivion. Carter's tie flopped, his water dump a scar that sealed his dynasty's end. Lena's glasses slipped, her stapler's holes a wound that bled her career dry. Owen's shoulders slumped, his folder tearing a noose tightening around his future. The board watched, shareholders nodded, investors' notes flew. Each step the panel took toward the door, a death march. The fallout was a wildfire. Vivian, once HR's Iron Queen, was stripped of her badge, her name blacklisted from Austin to Silicon Valley. Her marker scrawled "irrelevant" became her epitaph, her smug hiss a viral curse as firms slammed their doors. Derek's Rolex was pawned for rent, his coffee splash a stain that industry whispers turned into legend. Carter's pinstripe suit hung limp, his family's legacy torched as investors jeered, his water dump a ghost that haunted his LinkedIn grave. Lena's data empire crumbled, her stapler's teeth a mark of shame no resume could erase. Owen's swagger dissolved, his folder scraps a brand that left him begging for scraps outside tech's gates. The screen burned their shame into history, every jab a boomerang that smashed their world. Marcus turned to the board, voice steady. They tore her test, solved perfectly, faster than their minds could grasp. They threw coffee, called guards, mocked her clothes. They didn't just fail a candidate, they failed Nexlify. He gestured to Elena, her damp skirt and loafers a badge of resilience. She built this company with me, from sleepless nights in a one-room apartment to this tower. You will not forget her again. The guards escorted the panel out, their footsteps echoing like a requiem. Vivian's blazer hit a thrift rack by week's end. Derek's name vanished from industry lists. Carter's dynasty disowned him. Lena's glasses sold for bus fare. Owen's crew cut bowed under a cardboard sign. Their titles, their reps, their lives, erased in a heartbeat, all for sneers at a woman they couldn't see. The boardroom's silence roared with their ruin. Elena's steady gaze the gavel. Their own words the rope that hanged them. Outside, the Austin sun blazed, but for them, the world had gone dark. 6 months later, rain lashed Austin's downtown, a gray curtain over the bustling streets. Commuters hurried under snapping umbrellas, their footsteps a restless drumbeat. At a crowded transit hub, Derek Vance slumped against a concrete pillar, his once crisp suit now frayed, his cufflinks long pawned. A cardboard sign trembled in his hands. Anything helps. His Rolex was a memory, his sneer reduced to a faint echo, his fingers shaking in the cold. The man who'd splashed coffee on Elena Harper's blouse now begged for scraps, his eyes hollow, his legacy buried under the weight of his own cruelty. Across town, Elena Harper stood on a stage at the Global AI Summit, her presence a quiet storm. Her dark hair was still pulled into that simple bun, but now she wore a tailored navy coat, her loafers replaced by polished boots. Her hazel eyes gleamed as she keynoted, her voice steady, bending the future with every word. Ethics in AI isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of trust, she said, her slides mapping systems she'd pioneered. Systems that powered Nexlify and beyond. The audience, CEOs, coders, policymakers, leaned in, captivated. She was no longer the woman in a stained blouse. She was a force, her mind a beacon reshaping the tech world. The summit's screens flashed her name, Elena Harper, co-founder, Nexlify. The title landed like a gavel, a truth the panel had mocked but could never erase. She'd spent the months since that brutal interview rebuilding, not just for herself but for every soul Nexlify's old guard had crushed. Her nights were spent mentoring young coders, her days refining algorithms that made systems fairer, faster, stronger. She didn't need to shout her victory, her work roared for her. As she stepped off the stage, applause trailing her like thunder, she caught a glimpse of the transit hub on a news screen. Derek's slumped figure flickered, a fleeting image of ruin. She paused, her boots steady on the polished floor, and reached into her pocket. A single quarter glinted, cold and sharp. She didn't need to see him in person. His fall was complete, his coffee stain a scar that marked his end. But the gesture lingered in her mind, a symbol of justice, not pity. She'd forged Nexlify's heart, and they'd spat on it. Now she stood taller while they sank low. Back at the hub, the rain didn't relent. Vivian Holt's emerald blazer was a thrift store relic, her marker a ghost that haunted her sleepless nights. Carter Reed's dynasty had cut him off, his water dump a viral clip that barred him from every boardroom. Lena Wu's glasses were sold for scraps, her stapler a curse that no tech firm would touch. Owen Blake's crew cut bowed under a tattered cap, his folder scraps of memory he couldn't outrun. Their names were poison, their resumes ash, their lives erased by the same arrogance that had mocked Elena's quiet strength. Elena walked on, her boots tapping steady, her navy coat a shield against the storm. She didn't need to scream or gloat. Her rise was her revenge. Marcus Kane waited outside, his black suit sharp, his eyes warm as he opened the car door. "You changed the room," he said, voice low. She smiled, faint but real. "They changed me first." The car pulled away, the city's lights blurring through the rain, her strength a silent thunder that echoed long after the panel's laughter had died. The lesson was carved in their fall: underestimate at your peril. Eleanor Harper wasn't just a survivor. She was a builder, a mind that turned dirt into empires. And for every soul judged by their cover, her story was a fire, burning bright against the dark.